The children were playing in the fields of New Helsinki when the sky turned dark with ships. 9 million humans lived on this colony world, farmers grew crops in rich alien soil, scientists studied the local wildlife, families built homes and schools and dreamed of a peaceful future. They had no military, no weapons beyond hunting rifles. They were simple people who wanted simple lives. The Vraxian warships blocked out the sun. High Prelate Sorvin watched from his command vessel as his soldiers descended upon the helpless colony. The Vraxians were insectoid beings, tall and armored with natural shells. They had conquered 12 species before humans even reached the stars. To them, other life forms were either slaves or entertainment. Gather them all, Sorvin commanded, every single one. The colonists did not resist. How could they? Vraxian soldiers herded families into transport ships. Children cried for parents. Husbands reached for wives. The soldiers laughed at their weakness. These soft creatures with their pink skin and wet eyes posed no threat to the mighty Dominion. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Assembly met on Station Meridian. Ambassador David Okonkwo represented Earth. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had spent 30 years building peace between species. He believed that words could solve any problem, that understanding could bridge any gap. He was about to learn how wrong he was. The Assembly Hall held representatives from 200 species. They debated trade routes and resource rights. The Vraxians sat in their section, silent and watchful. Ambassador Okonkwo noticed their strange calm but thought nothing of it. Then every screen in the galaxy lit up with the same image. High Prelate Sorvin stood in a massive arena. Behind him, human colonists knelt in chains. Millions of Vraxian spectators filled the seats, cheering and clicking their mandibles in excitement. Species of the galaxy, Sorvin announced, today you will witness what happens to those who forget their place. Humanity has expanded too far, too fast. They must learn humility. The executions began. Vraxian soldiers moved through the rows of prisoners. Their blade arms rose and fell, one by one. Humans died. The camera showed everything. A mother shielding her child, both cut down together. An old man praying, silenced mid-word. Young couples holding hands as death came for them. Ambassador Okonkwo collapsed to his knees. Other species turned away, unable to watch, but the broadcast continued. 6 hours of systematic murder. The death counter in the corner climbed higher and higher. On Earth, Admiral Yuki Tanaka watched from Fleet Command in Geneva. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. She had commanded ships for 40 years, fought pirates and settled disputes. But she had never seen anything like this. Her coffee grew cold in her hands as the hours passed. 9 million. The counter finally stopped at 9 million. High Prelate Sorvin returned to the screen. His mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his kind. Let this be a lesson, he declared. The Vraxian Dominion will expand. Any species that resists will share this fate. We are the supreme power in this galaxy. Accept this truth or be destroyed. The broadcast ended. Silence fell across Earth. In homes and offices, on ships and stations, humans stared at blank screens. For a long moment, no one moved, no one spoke. Something had broken inside humanity. Something else had awakened. Admiral Tanaka set down her cold coffee. Her hands did not shake, her voice did not waver. Contact every fleet commander, she said, every reserve unit, every ship capable of combat. Her aide hesitated. Admiral, what are our orders? Tanaka turned to face the window. Outside, the sun was setting over Geneva, painting the sky red. Protocol Absolute, she said. The aide went pale. Protocol Absolute had never been used. It existed only in theory, a response so extreme that no one believed it would ever be necessary. It meant total war. It meant no negotiation, no mercy, no limits. It meant extinction. Within hours, Earth's communications went dark. Every channel, every frequency, every signal from human space simply stopped. The Galactic Assembly sent messages demanding explanations. They received no response. Species who had traded with humans for centuries found their calls unanswered. High Prelate Sorvin received reports of the silence and laughed. They are broken, he told his advisors, weeping in their homes, paralyzed by grief. I told you these creatures were weak. They will submit soon enough. His generals agreed. Humans were soft, emotional. They lacked the Vraxian strength. In a few months, Earth would beg for mercy, and the Dominion would graciously accept their surrender. But deep in human space, something else was happening. Factories that had built farming equipment now produced weapons, shipyards designed for exploration vessels switched to warships, scientists who had studied alien plants now studied Vraxian biology. Every human with military training received the same message: report for duty. Immediately, Admiral Tanaka stood before a holographic map of Vraxian space, 12 worlds, hundreds of outposts, a fleet of 3,000 ships. It was a mighty empire built on conquest and cruelty. She began marking targets. They think our silence means defeat, she said to her officers. Let them think that, let them celebrate, let them feel safe. She marked the final target, the Vraxian homeworld, and then we will teach them what humanity becomes when you take everything from us. The officers saluted. There were no more questions, no more doubts. 9 million dead had purchased a terrible unity. Earth prepared for war. A grandmother on the colony world of New Dublin taught her grandchildren an old Earth saying, beware the anger of a patient man. 3 weeks had passed since the massacre, 3 weeks of silence from human space. The Galactic Assembly debated and argued while the Vraxian Dominion celebrated. They threw festivals in honor of their great victory. High Prelate Sorvin commissioned statues of himself standing over human corpses. They had no idea what was coming. Director Pavel Volkov ran Earth's intelligence division from a bunker beneath the Ural Mountains. He was an old spy, trained in patience and precision. His teams had spent the past 3 weeks gathering every piece of information about the Vraxians, their biology, their psychology, their military tactics, their weaknesses. They found many weaknesses. The Vraxians have never faced a real war, Volkov reported to Admiral Tanaka. Every species they conquered surrendered quickly. They have no experience against an enemy that fights back. Tanaka studied the data. What else? Their hive structures are vulnerable to specific sound frequencies. It disrupts their communication. High-pitched tones cause physical pain, and their command structure is rigid. Remove the leaders and the soldiers become confused. Tanaka nodded. Good. What about their worlds? Volkov brought up a map showing 12 Vraxian planets. We know the location of every city, every military base, every shipyard. They have never hidden anything. Because they never feared attack, they will learn to fear, Tanaka said quietly. Across Earth, the transformation continued. General Amara Diallo commanded the ground forces. She was a tall woman from Senegal who had spent her career keeping peace. Now she designed invasion plans. Her soldiers trained day and night, learning to fight Vraxian warriors. Their armor was hard but their joints were weak. Their blade arms were deadly but they could not fight at long range. Humans had guns. Humans had bombs. Humans had rage. In the shipyards orbiting Mars, workers built warships at impossible speed. Civilian vessels were stripped and refitted for combat. Mining ships became bombers. Transport vessels became troop carriers. Engineers worked until they collapsed, then woke up and worked again. No one complained. No one asked for rest. They all remembered the broadcast. Meanwhile, the Vraxians grew bored. High Prelate Sorvin sat on his throne, receiving reports from his generals. Human space remained silent. No attacks, no threats, not even angry messages. He had expected some pathetic attempt at revenge by now. Perhaps we killed their spirit completely, one general suggested. Perhaps, Sorvin agreed. Send scouts to their border. If they are truly broken, we should claim more of their territory. The scouts found nothing. Human border stations were empty. Ships that usually patrolled the trade routes were gone. It was as if humanity had simply vanished. Some Vraxian officers felt uneasy about this. Where had the humans gone? Why had they abandoned their posts? But their concerns were dismissed. Sorvin was certain that humans were cowards who had fled deeper into their own space. He was half right. The humans had gathered, but they had not fled. In the darkness between stars, far from any trade routes or stations, 2,000 warships hung in perfect formation. Admiral Tanaka stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Remembrance. She had named it herself. Every crew member wore a patch showing a closed fist. Inside that fist was the number 9 million. Status report. She commanded. All ships ready, Admiral. Crews at full strength. Weapons loaded. Coordinates locked. Tanaka looked at the officers around her. Some were young, barely out of training. Others were veterans who had come out of retirement. All of them had the same look in their eyes. Not anger. Something colder. Something that would not stop until the job was done. In a few hours, we will do something terrible, she told them. We will not take prisoners. We will not accept surrender, we will destroy everything they have ever built. History may judge us harshly, future generations may call us monsters. She paused, but no one will ever do to humanity what was done to New Helsinki. After today, every species in the galaxy will know the cost of harming our people. That is what we buy with our souls today. No one objected. They had all made their peace with what was coming. At the Galactic Assembly, Ambassador Okonkwo finally broke humanity's silence. He stood before the gathered species, the same hall where he had watched the massacre broadcast. His face was calm, his voice steady. The Vraxian Dominion has demanded that Earth submit to their rule, he said. They believe our silence means surrender. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Our silence was not surrender. Our silence was preparation. And now that preparation is complete, before anyone could respond, he continued. This is not a request for help, we do not need allies, we are simply informing you of what is about to happen. Stay out of our way. He walked out of the chamber. Hours later, the Vraxian homeworld received a warning from their outer colonies. Human ships had been detected, thousands of them, moving fast. High Prelate Sorvin demanded numbers. 500, came the first report, then 1,000, then 1,500. The number kept climbing. Sorvin's confidence finally cracked. That is impossible, he whispered. They cannot have that many ships, but they did, and they were coming. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel surrounding the Vraxian homeworld. 2,000 warships aimed their weapons at the planet below. Admiral Tanaka broadcast one message, not just to the Vraxians, but to the entire galaxy. We gave you peace, you chose this. The war had begun. On a distant observation post, a young alien scientist recorded what he called the shortest war in galactic history. It lasted 72 hours. The human fleet surrounded Vraxis Prime like a net of steel and fire. High Prelate Sorvin had never seen so many warships in one place. His own fleet was scattered across Vraxian territory, too far away to help, too slow to arrive in time. Raise the planetary shields, he commanded. Call for reinforcements. War Master Krell, his highest military commander, shook his armored head. The shields are up, but human weapons are punching through. They know our frequencies. Impossible, Sorvin hissed. How could they know? The answer came in the form of orbital bombardment. Human ships rained fire upon every military base on the planet. Shield generators exploded, weapons platforms crumbled, anti-aircraft systems went dark. The humans had spent 3 weeks studying. They knew exactly where to hit. Admiral Tanaka watched from the bridge of the Remembrance. Her face showed nothing, no triumph, no rage, just cold focus. Begin ground operations, she ordered. Drop ships descended through burning skies. Human soldiers poured onto Vraxian soil. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons designed specifically to kill the insectoid warriors. Plasma rifles that melted their shells, sonic grenades that disrupted their hive communication, bullets that found the weak joints in their natural armor. Captain Luis Ferreira led the first wave into the capital city. He was a quiet man from Brazil who had lost his sister on New Helsinki. She had been a teacher, helping colony children learn mathematics. Now her picture was taped inside his helmet. He looked at it before every mission. Push forward, he told his soldiers. No stopping, no hesitation. The Vraxians fought back. Their blade arms were deadly at close range. They ambushed human squads in narrow streets. They set traps and used their knowledge of the terrain, but the humans kept coming. Every time a soldier fell, 2 more took their place. Human medics dragged wounded comrades to safety while still firing their weapons. Human engineers blew holes through walls to create new paths. Human snipers picked off Vraxian commanders from impossible distances. War Master Krell had studied military history. He recognized what he was seeing. These humans fought like they had nothing to lose. They accepted casualties that would break any Vraxian unit. They did not retreat, did not surrender, did not stop. They are insane, he reported to Sorvin. They fight like dying is meaningless to them. Then we will give them death, Sorvin replied. But death was not enough. For every human that fell, the others fought harder. Their rage was bottomless. Their determination was beyond anything the Vraxians had ever faced. The capital fell in 18 hours. Captain Ferreira led his team through the grand hive structure that served as the seat of Vraxian power. Bodies of fallen warriors littered the halls, human and Vraxian alike. The fighting had been brutal. Room by room, tunnel by tunnel. They found High Prelate Sorvin in his throne chamber. the great leader of the Vraxian Dominion huddled behind his guards. His magnificent robes were torn, his mandibles clicked with fear. When he saw the human soldiers enter, he raised his claws in what might have been a gesture of surrender. "Wait," he said. "We can negotiate. I can give you territory, resources, whatever you want." Captain Ferreira removed his helmet. His face was covered in blood and dust, his eyes were empty. He pulled up a video on his helmet display and showed it to Sorvin. The massacre broadcast. 9 million humans dying while Vraxians cheered. "Did you give them a chance to negotiate?" Ferreira asked. Sorvin had no answer. Ferreira raised his rifle. Across Vraxian space, the same story repeated. Human forces struck every colony, every outpost, every ship. The attacks came simultaneously. Perfectly coordinated, there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Some Vraxians tried to surrender. Human soldiers recorded their pleas for historical purposes, then carried out their orders. A few Vraxian ships managed to flee. Human pursuit vessels hunted them down. One by one, they were destroyed. Some captains tried broadcasting distress calls to the Galactic Assembly. No one answered. No one came to help. The galaxy watched, unable or unwilling to intervene. After 72 hours, Admiral Tanaka received the final reports. All primary targets destroyed. Admiral, Vraxian military capability eliminated. No organized resistance remaining. She nodded slowly. Civilian populations. Her aide hesitated. Following orders. Admiral, complete. Tanaka closed her eyes. For a moment, she allowed herself to feel the weight of what she had commanded. Billions of Vraxians, soldiers and civilians, adults and young, an entire species erased from existence. This was what humanity had become. She opened her eyes and looked at the viewport. Below, Vraxis Prime burned. Fires spread across continents. Smoke filled the atmosphere. In a few weeks, nothing would survive on the surface. "Send a message to the Galactic Assembly," she said. "Tell them it is done." Her communications officer complied. "What else should I tell them, Admiral?" Tanaka turned away from the burning world. "Tell them we will speak when we are ready, not before." She walked off the bridge. Her officers watched her go. They had won. They had avenged their 9 million. They had made sure no one would ever attack humanity again. But none of them felt like celebrating. The Vraxian species was extinct. Humanity had survived, and the galaxy would never forget what they had witnessed. There is an old story about a farmer who killed a wolf that ate his sheep. The other animals called him a murderer. The other wolves never came near his farm again. 6 months had passed since the extinction of the Vraxians. The Galactic Assembly demanded justice, or at least, some species demanded justice. Others stayed silent, watching and waiting. A few had secretly celebrated when the Vraxians fell. They had suffered under Vraxian rule for centuries. Now everyone wanted to know what humanity would do next. Admiral Yuki Tanaka stood before the tribunal. She wore her dress uniform, medals gleaming on her chest. Her hair had turned completely white in the months since the war. She did not look like a monster. She looked like someone's grandmother. But everyone knew what she had done. Chief Arbiter Thessan presided over the hearing. He was an ancient being from a neutral species. His people had watched civilizations rise and fall for 10,000 years. He had seen wars end, atrocities, conquests and genocides. He had never seen anything quite like this. "Admiral Tanaka," he began, "you stand accused of extinction-level warfare, the complete destruction of the Vraxian species. How do you respond?" Tanaka's voice was steady. "I do not deny what we did. I ordered it. I watched it happen. I would do it again." Murmurs rippled through the assembly hall. Ambassador David Okonkwo rose to present humanity's defense. He was thinner now, older. The past months had taken something from him too, but his voice remained strong. "Before you judge us," he said, "you will watch something." He activated the chamber screens. The massacre broadcast played again, 6 hours compressed into 30 minutes, but still showing everything: the executions, the cheering Vraxian crowds, the death counter climbing toward 9 million. Many representatives looked away. Some left the chamber, but Okonkwo made them watch. "This is what they did to us," he said when it ended. 9 million innocent people, murdered for entertainment, broadcast across the galaxy while you all sat and watched. He let the silence hang. "What would you have done?" Representative Mora requested permission to speak. She came from a species called the Thessani, small, peaceful beings who had been conquered by the Vraxians 300 years ago. my people were slaves, she said, her voice trembled, for 3 centuries. We served the Vraxians, they killed us when we were too old to work, they took our children for labor camps, we prayed for someone to save us. She looked at Admiral Tanaka, no one came, until the humans. I am not supposed to feel relief that the Vraxians are gone, but I do, my people finally know freedom, because of what humanity did. Other species shared similar stories. The Vraxians had terrorized the galaxy for generations, they had conquered the weak and enslaved the helpless. Everyone had been afraid of them, now everyone was afraid of humanity instead. The tribunal debated for 3 days, some demanded that humanity be punished, confined to their home system, stripped of their fleet, others argued that the Vraxians had earned their fate, a few pointed out the obvious, humanity's fleet was still intact, who exactly would enforce any punishment. In the end, they reached a compromise. Chief Arbiter Thessan delivered the verdict, humanity is neither condemned nor exonerated. What you did cannot be undone, but we understand why you did it. He paused. New laws will be created, extinction-level responses will require assembly approval, humanity agrees to follow these laws. Tanaka nodded, she knew what the words meant, humanity would follow the laws until someone hurt them again, then they would do whatever was necessary. Furthermore, Thessan continued, a new category is established, protected species status, for civilizations too weak to defend themselves. Humanity will help enforce these protections. Ambassador Okonkwo raised an eyebrow. You want us to be your enforcers, we want the galaxy to know that harming the innocent has consequences. You have proven that you will deliver those consequences. This is not a punishment, it is a responsibility. Humanity accepted. What choice did they have? They had become something new, something feared, they might as well use that fear for good. After the tribunal, Admiral Tanaka and Ambassador Okonkwo walked together through the station's observation deck. Stars filled the viewport. Somewhere out there, empty Vraxian worlds drifted in silence. Do you regret it? Okonkwo asked. Tanaka considered the question. I regret that it was necessary, I regret what it cost our souls, but regret is not the same as thinking I was wrong. History may judge us harshly, history can go to hell. Tanaka replied, history did not watch 9 million people die, history did not have to make a choice. Okonkwo nodded slowly. So what now? Now we go home, we rebuild, we try to remember who we were before this happened, and we make sure no one ever forces us to become this again. They stood in silence, watching the stars. The galaxy had changed, humanity had changed, there was no going back to the peaceful species they had been. They were protectors now, guardians, enforcers, they carried weapons and patrolled trade routes and made sure the strong did not prey on the weak. It was not the future they had wanted, but it was the future they had earned, in blood and fire and 9 million graves. 20 years later, a child asked her teacher why humans were different from other species. The teacher did not know how to answer. Captain Sarah Tanaka commanded the peacekeeping vessel Unity. She was 32 years old, born 3 years after the Vraxian extinction. She had grown up in a galaxy that feared her species, respected them, but never quite trusted them. Her grandmother rarely spoke about the war. Admiral Yuki Tanaka had retired to a small house in Japan. She grew flowers and watched the seasons change. When Sarah visited, they talked about everything except the past, but the past had a way of returning. The Kasari were a young species, aggressive and ambitious. Their leader, young Prelate Kesix, had grown up hearing stories about the Vraxians, not the horror stories other species told, but tales of glory and conquest. He believed the galaxy had grown soft. He decided to test that belief. Kasari raiders attacked a small human colony, 30 people died, farmers and miners, no one important by galactic standards, but important enough. Sarah received the distress call while patrolling nearby space. Set course for the Kasari border, she ordered, and get me a line to Earth. The response came within hours. Human ships gathered from across the sector, not as many as the fleet that destroyed the Vraxians, but enough, more than enough. Young Prelate Kesix received word that humans were approaching. He laughed. Let them come, he told his advisors. They have been peaceful for 20 years, they have forgotten how to fight. His advisors were not so sure. They had seen the recordings, they knew what humanity could do, but Kesix was young and proud. He believed strength came from aggression, not restraint. Sarah's fleet arrived at the border. She broadcast a message to the Kasari flagship. this is Captain Sarah Tanaka of the Earth vessel Unity. You have attacked our people, killed our citizens. I am giving you one chance to withdraw and submit to Assembly Justice. Kessex appeared on her screen. He was tall for his species, covered in bright scales that showed his youth and health. His eyes held contempt. One chance, he mocked. Your people threatened the Vraxians the same way. Do you think I am afraid? I think you should be, Sarah replied. Before Kessex could respond, she sent him a file, recordings from 20 years ago, Vraxis Prime burning, Vraxian cities reduced to ash. The complete extinction of a species that thought they were invincible. Watch it, Sarah said, all of it, then give me your answer. The transmission ended. Kessex watched the recordings alone in his quarters. At first, he felt excitement. This was war, this was power, but as the hours passed, his excitement faded. He saw the efficiency, the coordination, the complete lack of mercy. The humans had not fought with rage or chaos, they had fought with cold, methodical precision. Every strike planned, every target destroyed, every survivor hunted down. This was not war, this was extermination. His advisors found him sitting in darkness. Young prelate, what are your orders? Kessex did not answer immediately. He thought about his people, his world, his future. He thought about statues of himself standing over human corpses. Then he thought about his world burning. Contact the human fleet, he said finally. Tell them we accept their terms. Sarah received the message on her bridge. Her officers waited for her response. Some looked disappointed. They had expected a fight, wanted a fight. Sarah felt only relief. Acknowledge their surrender, she said. Arrange for assembly mediators. We will escort them to neutral space. The crisis ended without a shot fired. A week later, Sarah visited her grandmother in Japan. The old admiral sat in her garden, surrounded by flowers. Her hands were wrinkled now, her hair completely white, but her eyes were still sharp. I heard what happened. Yuki said, you gave them a choice. Sarah nodded. Was that wrong? No. Her grandmother smiled. It was what I hoped you would do. They killed 30 of our people. Some said we should have destroyed them. Yuki reached out and took her granddaughter's hand. 20 years ago, I would have agreed, but that was a different time, a different wound. She looked at her flowers. I have spent 20 years trying to remember who I was before the war. Some days I succeed, some days I still see Vraxis burning. Do you regret it? Parts of it, not the choice, but the cost. What we became to make that choice. She squeezed Sarah's hand. You made a different choice. You showed them our strength without using it. That takes more courage than destruction. Sarah sat with her grandmother until sunset. They did not talk about war or death or extinction. They talked about flowers and family and the future. Ambassador David Okonkwo visited the next day. He was very old now, but still serving. Still trying to build bridges between species. The Kasari have agreed to pay reparations, he told them. Young Prelate Kessex requested a personal meeting with you, Sarah. He wants to understand. Understand what? How you could show mercy when you had the power to destroy. Sarah thought about it. Tell him I will meet him. Maybe we can teach each other something. Okonkwo smiled. It was the first genuine smile Yuki had seen from him in 20 years. Perhaps, he said. That is what humanity was always meant to be, not destroyers, not avengers, but teachers, showing the galaxy that strength and mercy can exist together. Yuki watched her granddaughter leave with the ambassador. The garden was quiet, the flowers bloomed. Somewhere, 9 million souls rested in peace, and humanity, finally, began to heal.